not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work. You nor your sons, nor your daughters, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your strangers who live in your gates. Animal crackers and cocoa to drink. That is the finest of suppers, I think. When I'm grown up and can have what I please, I think I shall always insist upon these. What do you choose when you're offered a treat? When mother says, what would you like best to eat? Is it waffles and syrup or cinnamon toast? It's cocoa and animals that I love the most. Kitchen's the coziest place that I know. The kettle is singing, the stove is aglow, and there in the twilight, how jolly to see the cocoa and animals waiting for me. Daddy and mother dine later and stay for Mary to cook for them, Susan to wait, but they don't have nearly as much fun as I. Food in the kitchen with nursing by, and Daddy once said he would like to be me, having cocoa and animals once more for tea. My name is Ellen Reynolds, and today I will be reciting Psalm 139. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought afar out. You comprehend my path and my lying down, and direct me with all my ways, for there is not a word on my tongue. But behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You have hedged me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall fall on me, even the night shall be light about me. Indeed, the darkness shall not hide from you, but the night shines as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to you. For you formed my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you, and I was made in secret, and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written. The days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. How precious also are your thoughts to me, God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O God. Depart from me, therefore, you bloodthirsty men, for they speak against me wickedly. Your enemies take your name in vain. Do I not hate them, O Lord, who hate you? Do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. My name is Lucy Hicks, and I will be reciting the Servants by Robert Louis Stevenson. At evening, when the lamp is lit, around the fire my parents sit. They sit at home and talk and sing, and do not play at anything. Now with my little gun I crawl, all in the dark along the wall, and follow around the forest track, away know that. They are in the night where none can spy. On my hunter's camp I lie, and play at books that I have read, till it is time to go to bed. These are the hills, these are the woods, these are my starry solitudes, and there the river by whose brink the roaring lions come to drink. I see the others far away, as if in firelit camp they lay, and I like to an Indian scout around their party proud about. So when my nurse comes in for me, home I return across the sea, and go to bed with backward looks at my dear land of Starbucks. My name is Julia Hawker, and I will be presenting for you Foreign Lands by Robert Louis Stevenson. Up into the cherry tree, who should climb but little me? I held the trunk with both my hands and looked abroad on foreign lands. I saw the next door garden lie, adorned with flowers before my eye, and many pleasant places more that I had never seen before. I saw the dimpling river pass, and beat the sky's blue looking-glass. The dusty roads go up and down, with people trampling into town. If I could find a higher tree, farther and farther I should see, to where the grown-up river slips into the sea among their ships, to where the roads on either hand, and on into fairyland, where all the children dine at 5, and all the playthings come alive. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart Be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength, my Redeemer. I am Lauren Williams, and I will be presenting The Village Blacksmith by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands. And the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. His hair is crisp and black and long. His face is like the tan. His brow is wet with honest sweat. He earns whate'er he can, and looks the whole world in the face, for he owes not any man. Week in, week out, from morn till night, you can hear his bellows blow. You can hear him swing his heavy sledge with measured beat and slow, like a sexton ringing the village bell when the evening sun is low. And children coming home from school look in at the open door. They love to see the flaming forge and hear the bellows roar, and catch the burning sparks that fly like chaff from a threshing floor. He goes on Sunday to the church and sits among his boys. He hears the parson pray and preach. He hears his daughter's voice singing in the village choir, and it makes his heart rejoice. It sounds to him like a mother's voice, singing in paradise. He needs must think of her once more, how in the grave she lies. And with his hard rough hand, he wipes a tear out of his eyes. Toiling, rejoicing, sorrowing, onward through life he goes. Each morning sees some task begin, each evening seems to close. Something attempted, something done, has earned a night's repose. Thanks to thee, my worthy friend, for the lesson thou hast taught. Thus at the flaming forge of life, our fortunes must be wrought. Thus on it sounding ammo shapes each burning deed and thought. Good afternoon. My name is Michaela Estrus, and I will be presenting on John 1:1-18. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. This man came for a witness to bear witness of the light, that all through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which gives light to every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who are born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has delivered him.
My name is Kyle, and I will be presenting It Couldn't Be Done by Edgar A. Guest. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it." But he took off his coat, and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd be gunning. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you, one by one, the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it.
My name is Tessa DeBrod, and I will be presenting Deuteronomy 6, 1 through 15. Now this is the commandment, and these are the statutes and judgments which the Lord your God has commanded to teach you, that you may observe them in the land which you are crossing over to possess, that you may fear the Lord your God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Therefore hear, O Israel, and be careful to observe it, that it may be well with you, and that you may multiply greatly, as the Lord, God of your fathers, has promised you, a land flowing with milk and honey. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And these words, which I command you today, shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hands, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. So it shall be when the Lord your God brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you large and beautiful cities which you did not build, houses full of all good things which you did not fill, hewn out wells which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you have eaten and are full, then beware, lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. You shall fear the Lord your God and serve him, and shall take oaths in his name. You shall not go after other gods, the gods of the peoples who are all around you. For the Lord your God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord your God be aroused against you and destroy you from the face of the earth.
My name is Karen, and I will recite O Pioneers by the American poet Walt Whitman. This poem was first published in 1865. Come, my tan-faced children, follow well in order. Get your weapons ready. Have you your pistols? Have you your sharp-tipped axes? Pioneers, oh pioneers, for we cannot tarry here. We must march, my darlings. We must bear the brunt of danger. We, the youthful, sinewy races. All the rest on us depend. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Oh, you youths, Western youths, so impatient, full of action, full of manly pride and friendship. Plain I see you, Western youths, see you tramping with the foremost. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Have the elder races halted? Do they droop and end their lesson, wearied over there beyond the seas? We take up the task eternal, the burden and the lesson. Pioneers, oh pioneers. All the past we leave behind. We debouch upon a newer, mightier world, varied world. Fresh and strong, the world we seize, world of labor and the march. Pioneers, oh pioneers. We detachments steady throwing, down the edges, through the passes, up the mountain steep. Conquering, holding, daring, venturing as we go, the unknown ways. Pioneers, oh pioneers. We primeval forest felling, we the river stemming, vexing we, and piercing deep the minds within. We the surface broad surveying, we the virgin soil upheaving. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Colorado men are we, from the peaks gigantic, from the great sierras and the high plateaus, from the mine and from the gully, from the hunting trail we come. Pioneers, oh pioneers. From Nebraska, from Arkansas, Central inland race are we, from Missouri with the continental blood intervened. All the hands of comrades clasping, all the southern, all the northern, pioneers, oh pioneers. Oh resistless, restless race, oh beloved race and all. Oh my breast aches with tender love for all. Oh I mourn and yet exult. I am rapt with tender love for all. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Raise the mighty mother mistress, waving high the delicate mistress, over all the starry mistress. Bend your heads all. Raise the fanged and warlike mistress, stern, impassive, weaponed mistress. Pioneers, oh pioneers. See, my children, resolute children, by those swarms upon our rear, we must never yield or falter. Ages back in ghostly millions, frowning there behind us urging. Pioneers, oh pioneers. On and on the compact ranks, with accessions ever waiting, with the places of the dead quickly filled, through the battle, through defeat, moving yet and never stopping. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Oh, to die advancing on. Are there some of us to droop and die? Has the hour come? Then upon the march we fittest die. Soon and sure the gap is filled. Pioneers, oh pioneers. All the pulses of the world, falling in they beat for us, with the Western movement beat. Holding single or together, steady moving to the front, all for us. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Life involved in myriad pageants, all the forms and shows, all the workmen at their work, all the seamen and the landsmen, all the masters with their slaves. Pioneers, oh pioneers. All the hapless, silent lovers, all the prisoners in the prisons, all the righteous and the wicked, all the joyous, all the sorrowing, all the living, all the dying. Pioneers, oh pioneers. I too, with my soul and body, we, a curious trio, picking, wandering on our way, through these shores amid the shadows, with apparitions pressing. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Lo, the darting, bowling orb, lo, the brother orbs around, all the clustering stars and planets, all the dazzling days, all the mystic nights with dreams. Pioneers, oh pioneers. These are of us, they are with us, all for primal needed work, while the followers there in embryo wait behind. We today's procession heading, we the route for travel clearing. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Oh you daughters of the West, oh you young and elder daughters, oh you mothers and you wives, never must you be divided. In our ranks, you move united. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Minstrels, latents on the prairies, shouted bards of other lands, you may rest, you have done your work. Soon I hear you coming, warbling, soon you rise and tramp amid us. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Not for delectation sweet, not the cushion and the slipper, not the peaceful and the studious, not the riches they've been hauling, not for us, the tame enjoyment. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Do the feasters gluttonous feast? Do the corpulent sleepers sleep? Have they locked and bolted doors? Still be ours the diet hard, and the blanket on the ground. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Has the night descended? Was the road of late so toilsome? Did we stop, discouraged, nodding on our way? Yet a passing hour I yield you, in your tracks to pause, oblivious. Pioneers, oh pioneers. Till with sound of trumpet, far, far off the daybreak call. Hark, how loud and clear I hear it win. Swift to the head of the army, swift, spring to your places. Pioneers, oh pioneers.
Hello, my name is Drew Deister, and I will be reciting Hebrews 11, 1 through 40. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made by the things which are visible. By faith Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and through it he being dead still speaks. By faith, Enoch was taken away so that he did not see death, and was not found because God had taken him. For before he was taken, he had this testimony, that he pleased God. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. By faith, Noah, being divinely warned of things not yet seen, moved with godly fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his household, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is according to faith. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. And he went out, not knowing where he was going. By faith, he dwelt in the land of promise, as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God. By faith, Sarah herself also received strength to conceive seed, and she bore a child when she was past the age, for she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore, from one man, and him as good as dead, were born as many as the stars in the sky, in multitude, innumerable as the sand which is by the seashore. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For those who say such things declare plainly that they seek a homeland. And truly, if they had called to mind that country from which they had come out, they would have had opportunity to return. But now they desire a better, that is a heavenly country. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith, Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac, and he who had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom was said, "In Isaac your seed shall be called," concluding that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from which he also received him in a figurative sense. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph, and worshipped, leaning on the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he was dying, made mention of the departure of the children of Israel, and gave instructions concerning his bones. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden 3 months by his parents, because they saw he was a beautiful child, and they were not afraid of the king's command. By faith, Moses, when he became of age, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the passing pleasures of sin, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he looked to the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured him as seeing him who is invisible. By faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he who destroyed the firstborn should touch him. By faith he passed through the Red Sea, as by dry land, whereas the Egyptians, attempting to do so, were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were encircled for 7 days. By faith the harlot Rahab did not perish with those who did not believe, when she had received the spies with peace. And what more shall I say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and Barak and Samson and Jephthah, and also David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, and turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead back to life again. Others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Still others had trials of mockings and scourgings, yes, and of chains and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn in two, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and mountains, and in dens and caves of the earth. And all these, having obtained a good testimony through faith, did not receive the promise. God, having provided something better for us, that they should not be made perfect apart from us. Hebrews 11, 1 through 40.
My name is Hannah, and I will be telling you the story of Absalom and his death. Absalom has just teamed up with one of his father's enemies, and King David is sorely distressed. So he tells all of his captains not to hurt his beloved son. In this story, Absalom is like a wayward sheep walking away from his shepherd. And in the end, when Absalom is eventually killed, King David mourns for him. This foreshadows the compassionate love of Christ, who wants the salvation of his enemies. Now, the king had commanded Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, saying, "Deal gently, for my sake, with the young man Absalom." And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains orders concerning Absalom. Then Absalom met the servants of David. Absalom rode on a mule. The mule went under the thick boughs of a great terebinth tree, and his head caught in the terebinth. So he was left, hanging between heaven and earth. And the mule which was under him went on. Now a certain man saw it, and told Joab, and said, "I just saw Absalom hanging in a terebinth tree." So Joab said to the man who told him, "You just saw him, and why did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have given you 10 shekels of silver and a belt." But the man said to Joab, "Though I were to receive 1,000 shekels of silver in my hand, I would not raise my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing, the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, saying, 'Beware, lest anyone touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise, I would have dealt falsely against my own life. For there is nothing hidden from the king, and you yourself would be setting yourself against me.' So Joab said, 'I cannot linger with you.' And he took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through Absalom's heart, while he was still alive in the midst of the terebinth tree. And 10 young men who bore Joab's armor surrounded Absalom and struck and killed him. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the people returned from pursuing Israel, for Joab held back the people. Then they took Absalom and cast him into a large pit in the woods, and made a very large heap of stones over him. Then all Israel fled, everyone to his tent. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up a pillar for himself, which is in the king's valley. For he said to himself, "I have no son to keep my name in remembrance." So he called the pillar after his own name, and to this day it is called Absalom's monument. Then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, went to Joab and said, "Let me run now and tell the king how the Lord has avenged him of his enemies." But Joab said to him, "You shall take no news today, for you shall take the news another day. But today you shall take no news, for the king's son is dead." Then Joab turned to the Cushite and said, "Go, tell the king what you have seen." So the Cushite bowed himself to Joab and ran. Then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said again to Joab, "But whatever happens, please let me run also." So Joab said to him, "Why will you run, my son, since you have no news ready?" "But whatever happens," he said, "let me run." So Joab said to him, "Run." Then Ahimaaz ran by way of the plain and outran the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up to the roof, over the gate, to the wall, and lifted his eyes and looked, and there was a man running alone. So he cried out and told the king, and the king said, "If he is alone, then there is news in his mouth." And he came rapidly and drew near. Then the watchman saw another man running. So the watchman cried out and said to the king, "There is another man running alone." The king said, "He also brings news." So the watchman said, "I think the running of the first is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok." The king said, "He is a good man and comes with good news." Then Ahimaaz cried out and said to the king, "All is well." Then he came and bowed down with his face to the earth before the king and said, "Blessed be the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men this day who raised their hand against you." answered, "When Joab sent the king's servant, and me, your servant, there was a great tumult, but I did not know what it was about." So the king said, "Turn aside and stand here." So Absalom turned aside and stood still. Just then the Cushite came, and the Cushite said, "There is good news, my lord the king, for the Lord has avenged you this day of all who rose up against you to do harm." The king said, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" The Cushite answered, "May all the enemies of my lord the king, and all who rise up against you to do harm, be like that young man." Then the king was deeply moved, and he went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, he said thus, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died in your place. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" And Joab was told, "Behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom." So the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people who heard it said that day, "The king is grieved for his son."
My name is Jacob Odie, and I will be telling you the story of Elijah's defeat of the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. This takes place during the reign of perhaps the most evil king of Israel, Ahab. The Israelites have been without a godly king for many years, and they no longer follow the Lord. Elijah is the last prophet of Yahweh left, while the prophets of Baal and Asherah are together 850 men. Nevertheless, Elijah gathers all of Israel to himself on Mount Carmel to show them once and for all that the Lord is God. Elijah does this, and the Israelites' hearts are turned back to the Lord again. Elijah shows us that we must be willing to stand up against those who preach against the Lord, even if they have higher positions of authority than us. This foreshadows Christ. He also must oppose those in high positions of authority to gain glory for God. Then it happened, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said to him, "Is that you, O troubler of Israel?" And he answered, "I have not troubled Israel, but you and your father's house have, in that you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals. Now therefore send and gather all of Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who sit at Jezebel's table." So Ahab gathered all the children of Israel on the mountain and gathered the prophets together. Then Elijah came to all the people and said to them, "How long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him." But the people answered him, not a word. So Elijah said to the people, "I alone am left a prophet of the Lord, but the prophets of Baal are 450 men. Therefore let them give us 2 bulls. Let them choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it. And I will prepare the other bull, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it. Then you call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God who answers by fire, he is God." So the people answered and said, "It is well spoken." So Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose 1 bull for yourselves, and prepare it first, for you are many, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it." So the prophets of Baal took the bull that was given to them, and prepared it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even till noon, saying, "O Baal, hear us." But there was no voice. No one answered. Then they leapt about the altar that they had made. And it came to pass at midday that Elijah mocked them and said, "Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he's sleeping and must be awakened." So they cried aloud and cut themselves with knives and lances as was their custom, until the blood gushed out of them. And when midday was past, they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice. But there was no voice. No one answered. No one paid attention. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come near to me." So they came near to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, "Israel shall be your name." And with the 12 stones Elijah built an altar in the name of the Lord, and made a trench around the altar, large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. Then he cut the bull in pieces, and put the wood in order, and laid it on the wood, and said, "Fill 4 water pots with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood." And he said, "Do it a second time." So they did it a second time. And he said, "Do it a third time." So they did it a third time. And the water ran all around the altar. And he also filled the trench with water. It came to pass, at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that Elijah the prophet came near and said, "O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in heaven. That I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people might know that you are God, and that you've turned their hearts back to you again." Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And the people fell on their faces and said, "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" So Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Do not let one of them escape." So they seized them, and Elijah took them to the brook of Kishon and executed them there. Then Elijah said to Ahab, "Go up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of the abundance of rain." So Ahab went up to eat and drink, and Elijah went to the top of Carmel, and bowed down on the ground, put his head between his knees, and said to his servant, "Go up, look toward the sea." So he went up and looked, and said, "There is nothing." And 7 times he said, "Go again." And it came to pass on the 7th time that he said, "There is a cloud the size of a man's hand rising up out of the sea." So he said, "Go, say to Ahab, go down, before the rain stops you." And it happened in the meantime that the sky became black with clouds and rain, and there is a heavy storm. So Ahab went up and rode to Jezreel. Then the hand of the Lord came down on Elijah and girded up his loins, and he ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, also how he had executed the prophets. And Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time." And when he saw that, he arose and ran for his life, and went to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there.
And I will be presenting "We Shall Fight on the Beaches" by Winston Churchill. On June 4th, 1940, the Prime Minister of England, Winston Churchill, gave a most remarkable speech called "We Shall Fight on the Beaches," given just after one of the most incredible events of World War II. The Nazi army had just attacked the French and Belgian armies, allies of the British. With their backs against the sea, it looked like thousands of men were going to be completely annihilated. It was at this time that the English Navy called upon all available ships, including civilian craft, to journey across the English Channel and bring back the trapped soldiers. After this incredible event, Winston Churchill gave his most remarkable speech, "We Shall Fight on the Beaches," to the English citizens who waited in suspense for his thoughts on the future of the war. Nevertheless, our thankfulness at the escapes of our army and so many men whose loved ones have passed through an agonizing week must not blind us to the fact that what has happened in France and Belgium is a colossal military disaster. The French army has been weakened, the Belgian army has been lost. A large part of those fortified lines upon which so much faith had been reposed is gone. Many valuable mining districts and factories have passed into the enemy's possession. The whole of the Channel ports are in his hands, with all the tragic consequences that follow from that. And we must expect another blow to be struck almost immediately at us or in France. We are told that Herr Hitler has a plan for invading the British Isles. This has often been thought of before. When Napoleon lay alone for a year with his flat-bottomed boats and his grand army, he was told by someone, "There are bitter weeds in England." There are certainly a great many more of them since the British Expeditionary Force returned. The whole question of home defense against invasion is, of course, powerfully affected by the fact that we have, for the time being in this island, incomparably more powerful military forces than we have ever had at any moment in this war or the last. But this will not continue. We shall not be content with a defensive war. We have our duty to our ally. We have to reconstitute and build up the British Expeditionary Force once again under its gallant Commander-in-Chief, Lord Gort. All this is in train. But in the interval, we must put our defenses in this island into such a high state of organization that the fewest possible numbers will be required to have effective security, and the largest possible potential of offensive effort may be realized. On this we are now engaged. It would be very convenient, if it be the desire of the House, to enter upon this subject in a secret session. Not that the government would necessarily be able to reveal in very great detail military secrets, but we like to have our discussions free, without the restraint imposed by the fact that they will be read the next day by the enemy. And the government would benefit by views freely expressed in all parts of the House by members with their knowledge of so many different parts of the country. I understand that some request is to be made upon this subject, which will be readily acceded to by His Majesty's government. We have found it necessary to take measures of increasing stringency, not only against enemy aliens and suspicious characters of other nationalities, but also against British subjects, who may become a danger or a nuisance should the war be transported to the United Kingdom. I know there are a great many people affected by the orders which we have made who are the passionate enemies of Nazi Germany. I am very sorry for them. But we cannot, at the present time and under the present stress, draw all the distinctions which we should like to do. If parachute landings were attempted and fierce fightings attendant upon them followed, these unfortunate people would be far better out of the way, for their own sakes as well as for ours. There is, however, another class, for which I feel not the slightest sympathy. Parliament has given us the powers to put down fifth column activities with a strong hand, and we shall use those powers subject to the supervision and correction of the House without the slightest hesitation until we are satisfied, and more than satisfied, that this malignancy in our midst has been effectively stamped out. Turning once again, and this time more generally to the question of invasion, I would observe that there has never been a period in all these long centuries of which we boast, when an absolute guarantee against an invasion, still less against serious raids, could have been given to our people. In the days of Napoleon, the same wind which would have carried his transports across the Channel might have driven away the blockading fleet. There was always the chance, and it is that chance which has excited and befooled the imaginations of many continental tyrants. Many are the tales that are told. We are assured that novel methods will be adopted, and when we see the originality of malice, the ingenuity of aggression which our enemy displays, we may certainly prepare ourselves for every kind of novel stratagem and every kind of brutal and treacherous maneuver. I think that no idea is so outlandish that it should not be considered and viewed with a searching, but at the same time, I hope, with a steady eye. We must never forget the solid assurances of sea power and those which belong to air power if, it can be locally exercised. I have, myself, full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made, as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once again able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, to outlive the menace of tyranny. If necessary, for years. If necessary, alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. That is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. Even though large tracts of Europe and many old and famous states have fallen or may fall into the grip of the Gestapo and all the odious apparatus of Nazi rule, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island, or a large part of it, were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until in God's good time, the New World, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old. And I will be presenting Whittaker Chambers, A Letter to My Children. In the early 20th century, a new political idea was brewing in the hearts of men. Based on the notion of the social equality of all people, a new system of government called communism was born. Once in power, the Communist Party seized all property for the sake of the state, as communists do not believe in the rights of the individual. Above all, though, there can be no God. To many, an equality-based system of government seemed ideal, but in reality, communism uses terror, torture, and execution as ultimate tools of power. Whittaker Chambers, a communist spy who defected back to America during the middle of his espionage career, famously brought to light the true nature of communism in the dramatic Alger Hiss trial. Later, in his book Witness, Chambers explains the deception of communism and the true existence of God in A Letter to My Children. Recounting the horrors of communism, he tries to evoke in his children a sense of pity towards the human plight, a soul in extremity calling to another human soul. History very largely fixes the patterns of force that make men communists. Hence, one communist conversion sounds much like another, rather impersonal and repetitious, awesome and tiresome, like long lines of similar people all stolidly waiting to get in to see the same movie. A man's break with communism is intensely personal. Hence, the account of no two breaks is likely to be the same. The reasons that made one communist break may seem without force to another ex-communist. It is a fact that a man can join the Communist Party, can be very active in it for years, without completely understanding the nature of communism, or the political methods that follow inevitably from its vision. One day, such incomplete communists discovered that the Communist Party was not what they thought it was. They break with it and turn on it with the rage of an honest dupe, a dupe who has given part of his life to a swindle. Often they forget that it takes two to make a swindle. Others remain communists for years, warned by the light of his vision, firmly closing their eyes to the crimes and horrors inseparable from its practical politics. One day, they have to face the facts. They are appalled at what they have abetted. They spend the rest of their days trying to explain, usually without great success, the dark clue to their complicity. As their understanding of communism was incomplete and led them to a dead end, so their understanding of breaking with it is incomplete and leads them to a dead end. It leads to less than communism, which was a vision and a faith. The world outside communism, the world in crisis, lacks a vision and a faith. There is before these ex-communists absolutely nothing. Behind them is a threat. For they have, in fact, broken not with the vision, but with the politics of the vision. In the name of reason and intelligence, the vision keeps them firmly in its grip, self-divided, paralyzed, powerless to act against it. Hence, the most secret fold of their minds is haunted by a terrifying thought. What if we were wrong? What if our inconstancy is our guilt? That is the fate of those who break without knowing clearly that communism is wrong because something else is right. Because to the challenge, God or man, they continue to give the answer, man. Their pathos is that not even the communist ordeal could teach them that man without God is just what communism said he was, the most intelligent of the animals, that man without God is a beast, never more beastly than when he is most intelligent about his beastliness. Er mens Vernunft, says the devil in Goethe's Faust, und brauchs allein nun tierischer als jedes Tier zu sein. Man calls it reason and uses it simply to be more beastly than any beast. Not grasping the source of the evil they sincerely hate, such ex-communists in general make ineffectual witnesses against it. They are witnesses against something. They have ceased to be witnesses for anything. Yet, there is one experience which most sincere ex-communists share, whether or not they go only partway to the end of the question it poses. The daughter of a former German diplomat in Moscow was trying to explain to me why her father, who, as an enlightened modern man, had been extremely pro-communist, had become an implacable anti-communist. It was hard for her because, as an enlightened modern girl, she shared the communist vision without being a communist. But she loved her father, and the irrationality of his defection embarrassed her. He was immensely pro-Soviet, she said. And then, you will laugh at me, but you must not laugh at my father. And then, one night in Moscow, he heard screams. That's all. Simply one night, he heard screams. A child of reason in the 20th century, she knew that there is a logic of the mind. She did not know that the soul has a logic that may be more compelling than the mind's. She did not know at all that she had swept away the logic of the mind, the logic of politics, the logic of history, the myth of the 20th century, with 5 annihilating words. One night, he heard screams. What communist has not heard those screams? They come from husbands torn forever from their wives in midnight arrests. They come muffled from the execution cellars of the secret police, from the torture chambers of the Lubyanka, from all the citadels of terror now stretching from Berlin to Canton. They come from those freight cars loaded with men, women, and children, the enemies of the communist state, locked in, packed in, left on remote sidings to freeze to death at night in the Russian winter. They come from minds driven mad by the horrors of mass starvation, ordered and enforced as a policy of the communist state. They come from the starved skeletons, worked to death, or flogged to death, as an example to others, in the freezing filth of subarctic labor camps. They come from children communist has not heard those screams. Execution, says the Communist Code, is the highest measure of social protection. What man can call himself a communist who has not accepted the fact that terror is an instrument of policy, right if the vision is right, justified by history, and joined by the balance of forces in the social wars of this century? Those screams have reached every communist's mind. Usually, they stop there. What judge willingly dwells upon the man the laws compel him to condemn to death? The laws of nation or the laws of history? But one day, the communist really hears those screams. He is going about his routine party task. He is lifting a dripping reel of microfilm from a developing tank. He is justifying to a communist fraction in a trade union an extremely unwelcome directive of the Central Committee. He is receiving from a trusted superior an order to go to another country and, in a designated hotel at a designated hour, meet a man whose name he will never know, but who will give him a package whose contents he will never learn. Suddenly, there closes around that communist a separating silence. And in that silence, he hears screams. He hears them for the first time, for they do not merely reach his mind. They pierce beyond. They pierce to his soul. He says to himself, "Those are not the screams of a man in agony." He hears them for the first time because a soul in extremity has communicated with that which alone can hear it, another human soul. Why does the communist ever hear them? Because in the end, there persists in every man, however he may deny it, a scrap of soul. The communist who suffers this singular experience then says to himself, "What is happening to me? I must be sick." If he does not instantly stifle that scrap of soul, he is lost. If he admits it for a moment, he has admitted that there is something greater than reason, greater than the logic of mind, of politics, of history, of economics, which alone justifies the vision. If the party senses his weakness, and the party is peculiarly cunning at sensing such weakness, it will humiliate him, degrade him, condemn him, expel him. If it can, it will destroy him. And the party will be right, for he has betrayed that which alone justifies its fate, the vision of Almighty Man. He has brushed against the only vision that has force against the vision of Almighty Mind. He stands before the fact of God.